Well, hello everybody. This is Scooter Pete talking to you after a long hiatus. This is my first day of riding in my new life, and I thought I'd explain that comment to you, my new life. On June 28th at roughly 6:15 in the evening, I was riding along in my Honda Helix that I was so happy with and proud of and all that, on a secondary highway here on Vancouver Island, when all of a sudden a deer decided to commit suicide and stepped in front of my bike. I hit him at about pretty close to 50 miles an hour. Needless to say, I don't remember much after that. And I should say at this point, everything I tell you has been told to me. And I'll tell you why as we go here. But anyway, I was just cruising along. I hit the deer, bang. I was unconscious for about pretty close to an hour. My Helix was pretty beat up, laying on the side of the road in the ditch. And when I came to, the police were there, the ambulance, even the paramedics were there. No sign of the deer, though. The police figure that the deer crawled off into the woods and became cougar lunch. And, well, I was all banged up. Went to the hospital and all this good stuff, and I had some shoulder problems, knee problems, hip problems. I had a bruise on my hip about the size of a football, and pretty deep, right down to the bone. But however, I didn't have any broken bones, which was a good thing. Now, little did I know that I had sustained 3 subdural hematomas. So you can look that up if you like on Google. It's pretty nasty. Essentially, what's happening is that your brain is bleeding, and of course, there's nowhere for the blood to go, so it just fills up the inside of the skull, and causes pressure on the brain. So anyway, I started noticing at some point that I was having trouble with my left side. My hands were shaky, and or just my left hand rather was shaky, and my left foot shook. It made it really difficult to put my pants on. But I persevered, I gather, and one day I was getting ready to go for a ride. Now this was about about 5 weeks after the accident. I was pretty well healed up physically. I was getting ready to go for a ride. I was putting on my riding boots, and boom, went down in the living room, collapsed. Tried to get up, and bang, collapsed again. And at that point, things started getting dark. And my wife tells me that we went to the hospital. They did a CT scan, which, in hindsight, they should have done earlier. But they didn't. And so the CT scan revealed these 3 subdural hematomas. I was evacuated, I think air evac, I'm not really sure anymore, to Victoria General Hospital. And they did surgery on me right away. So I now have 2 holes in my skull. They had to drain all the blood and all this stuff and clean everything out. and put me back together. Now, the prognosis for injuries like mine were pretty bleak. I mean, they had told my wife that there was a good chance I was dying on the operating table, and that there was also an equally good chance that if I survived the operation, that I would have some kind of physical or rather mental impairment. Could have been, just, well, to put it in English, totally and completely screwed. Anyway, I came to in the recovery and at the neurosurgical ward, and I found that I was pretty good. I knew my wife, I knew my kids, I knew pretty much anybody that was there. Problem is, I didn't know what happened before surgery. And when I say before surgery, I mean from about 18 years old right up until that moment. Big blank. Like the board had been wiped clean. So away we went, and I've been recovering ever since. I had the staples taken out of my head, and have been recovering ever since now. So this is my first time out on the bike. I really missed it. As far as to how my oh man, I hate those bumps. How my brain is doing right now. I find that as I'm recovering now, I have gaps. I have big gaps, actually. There's a lot of things I don't remember. And it's kind of interesting here because, stuff like, for example, I was 20. I'm going to let this guy pass me. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Thank you. By the way, to all you Harley guys out there who seem to think that louder pipes make you safer, I have two words for you. Doppler effect. Look it up. Anyhow, now the new and improved, or new and lighter me, I have holes, like I say. I did 27 years in the Army. I know I was posted in Europe. I know I was in Europe for, quite a while. I'm not 100% sure how long, but I don't recall doing anything. I must have done something in 27 years. I don't recall too much. And yet I recall people. I recall some people, I should say. There's a lot of people that I know them, and I know them, but I don't know why or how I know them. And that also applies to me. I mean, my skills. I'm a sewing machine technician. I fix sewing machines, domestics, industrials, complicated multi-head commercial embroidery machines, things like that. Fairly technical work. I have no problem with it. I know what I know. How do I know this? I don't know. I must have gone to school. I must have done something to know this. But I don't. So, what can you do, eh? So now, I have come to the point where... Well, check out our new hospital. Anyway, I've come to the point where I think of it as Peter then and Peter now. There's no sense in, crying over things, because naturally what you don't know, you don't miss. So it's kind of charitable that way. But you know, there are times where I run into people and they know me, but I have no idea who they are. So I've come to have to deal with things like that. And you know, it happens. So I guess I'll just build up new memories. It's really strange, you know. The people have no idea just how much of you is your memories. You know, who you are is based on who you are, on your memories, your families, your shared experiences, everything. It's based on that. So to suddenly find yourself without that is kind of disturbing sometimes. So Harley guys, I wonder if my old self didn't like them either. Actually, I got nothing against them as riders. I just find the machine's a bit loud. But I guess that's part of the mystique, you know. Anyway, that's pretty much my story right now. It's been about 7 weeks, almost 8 weeks since my surgery now. And this is my first time on the buggy. Geez, I'll miss that light. My first time on the buggy. Feels really good to be on bike. Really, really good. I started off a little bit shaky. You know, coming out of the driveway it was touch and go. But now I've been, you know, through town and whatnot, and it just seems to be right. And that's a good thing, I think. Hey, another scooter rider. Anyway, I guess that's about it for now. I'll keep everybody posted as time goes on. Geez, another one. Anyway, my Helix is going into storage. It requires a lot of work. And it's an 86 Helix, a Canadian Helix. And they only made them for 1 year here, or only sold them for 1 year. But, oh well. Anyway, it's not going to be original by the time I'm done with it. So, in the meantime, I wish you all a good day. For riders out there, keep the shiny side up. And don't take anything for granted, folks, because you could lose it in a heartbeat. Stay safe. Scooter Pete, out.